I wanted to be at Texas State. I chose to be at Texas State. I'm from Texas. That was important to me. I always knew if the right guy got this job, you better watch out.
You better watch out. This is Win Now or Get Bent, episode 174. If you don't already know, I'm Kev Tardello, coming to you on Monday, October 14th, and the Bobcats are 2-0 in Sunbelt play. For the first time since joining the conference in 2013, the Bobcats start 2-0. It's a little sobering if you think about it too hard, but we're not going to do that here. We're just going to enjoy the moment. 2-0 after a 41-9 victory over the Arkansas State Red Wolves. Avenge that beat down from last season. Went from the most points Texas State ever allowed in 120 years of football, which is crazy to think about that as well. 77 points was the most ever. And then they held them to 9 the following year. Nice follow-up for the Bobcats. They did it in front of a sold-out crowd at UFCU Stadium on Saturday night. Looking forward to talking about this one. We'll talk all about that game. Most of you were there, everything that went into the game, and where the Bobcats are at the halfway point of the season. 4-2, halfway through the regular season, I should say. Feels like a postseason team. But before we get there, this episode is brought to you by First Lockhart National Bank. As the largest financial institution headquartered in Caldwell County, First Lockhart National Bank expanded to San Marcos in 2018 and opened a state-of-the-art branch on Hunter Road in 2020. For the past 6 years, FLNB has provided a wide range of financial services that have significantly improved the quality of life for the San Marcos community and beyond. Whether you need personal or business checking accounts, business loans, or home mortgages, they've got you covered. Plus, they offer innovative services like video banking, business banking, and a top-of-the-line mobile banking app. FLNB is also a huge supporter of Tech State football, standing out as one of the largest initial investors in NIL deals for Bobcats players. Be sure to follow them on Twitter, X, @FirstLockhart, and on Instagram, @FirstLockhart. Shout out to my guy, Gil Hodges, Senior Vice President at FLNB in MLS number 2475765, a proud Tech State grad and a diehard fan. We are thrilled to be partnering with Gil and FLNB all season long. You can find them at 2507 Hunter Road. That's 2507 Hunter Road, or give them a call at 512-504-7422. Again, that's 512-504-7422. First Lockhart National Bank, member FDIC, equal housing lender. Terms and conditions may vary. Hey, Bobcat Nation. Looking for your next real estate move? McNabb and Company Real Estate Services has been proudly Bobcat owned and operated for over 15 years. They're your go-to team for buying, selling, investing, and managing properties and everything in between. Whether you're a fan or an alum, they've got the local expertise and full service support you need. Call them today at 512-667-9129. That's 512-667-9129, or visit them at mcnabbandco.com. That's MCNABB, mcnabbandco.com. McNabb and Company, where Bobcats find their home. Give them a follow on Instagram, Facebook, and X at McNabb & Co. Thank you to Monica at McNabb, a day one Bobcat supporter. Now she's partnering with us this season. Check them out, mcnabbandco.com. That's MCNABB, mcnabbandco.com. All right, 2 at the top. Now we get to these Bobcats. Said it at the very beginning, 41-9 win over Arkansas State. It's nice to avenge that bad loss from last season. The defense, they didn't even let him in the end zone this time. After they basically lived in the end zone last season, they didn't get there once this year. They even jumped out to a 3-0 lead on it early, because we'll go through. We'll do the scoring real quick because there's a lot of elements to the game that I want to talk about. So most of you saw it. Some of you may have been imbibing during the game. So we'll go through the scores in case you forgot what happened. But Arkansas State, they received the opening kickoff, which was right off the bat. That was a little different caveat from G.J. Kinney, where the Bobcats won the toss and they elected to defer it. Usually that's the normal thing coaches do, where they win the toss, like, okay, I want the ball in the second half, so I'm going to defer it, let the other team start it out. Kinney would always start out, let me have that ball, let me get down there and let me score. This time he deferred it. Arkansas State gets the ball first. Right off the bat, 49-yard run for Arkansas State. It was the very first play. that they had. They didn't. I want to look at their rushing yards for the game because after that one, I was like, oh man, maybe they're going to get loose and actually get some rushing yards on this team. They still got 171, which was more than I thought they had. 117 from Cross. Yeah, that's sneaky. That 49-yard run, I guess that'll do it at the very beginning. That set them up. But after that 49-yard run, they gained 2 more yards, were forced into a field goal. Bobcats get the ball back, and they do what they do when they get the ball in that first quarter. They go right down 6 plays, 75 yards, 2 minute and 11-second drive, 53-yard touchdown pass to Cole Wilson. Third straight week with a touchdown for Cole Wilson. He's doing a great job with punts as well. He didn't have any like big returns to be notable about, but he was having issues muffing it. Watching the way he was catching it, he was using his body, almost falling to the ground with the ball at times. I did appreciate that. A lot of great stuff from Cole Wilson. But that gave the Bobcats 7-3 lead in the first quarter. Bobcats get it again, another drive. This one was a little longer time-wise. They're running the ball, starting to milk the clock already in the first quarter, at least starting to get used to it. 11-play drive, 5 minutes off the clock. 86-yard drive ended on a 5-yard touchdown run by Jordan McLeod. Arkansas State gets a field goal in the second quarter, makes it 14-6. Bobcats answer with a field goal themselves, a 39-yarder for Mason Shipley. That made it 17-6. And then one more field goal for Arkansas State before the half, made it 17-9. So this was a game that ended 41-9, and only 17 of the Bobcats' points were in the first half, which was that's different than what we've seen. It's been the bulk of their scoring has happened in the first half. This time it was the second half. They were able to hold off. Even they had a nice decent lead at the break, and then they added to it in the second half, which was nice to see because it was an onslaught. Arkansas State didn't score in the second half. They never found the end zone. They only hit field goals. The Bobcats, 24 unanswered points in the second half, starting with Jaden Williams, 24-yard touchdown from McLeod in the third quarter, really early in the third quarter, like right after the first minute. That made it 24-9. Joey Hobart then got in on the party with a 30-yard touchdown grab from McLeod. So that's the second consecutive week that Jordan McLeod is connected on a touchdown pass with Jaden Williams, Cole Wilson, and Joey Hobart. They are living off these starting receivers. I mean, Chris Don in the mix as well to round out that group of 4 starting receivers. Hobart got another touchdown in the fourth quarter. A bit of that 30-yard catch too. That's what I should go back and talk about that one, where it was another acrobatic play by Hobart, where it seemed like he was going to be down at like the 5 or the 6, and somehow he stayed on his feet and dove for the line and got in the end zone and got the touchdown. The guy, he never scores easy. He makes it look easy, but he never scores easy. But he did. He got another 8-yard touchdown right at the beginning of the fourth quarter. That was ending a nice long drive for the Bobcats in that second half. 10 plays, 93 yards, 4 minutes and 24 seconds off the clock. I'll talk more about that drive later, but that was the longest drive for the Bobcats this season. Started in the third quarter, ended 4 seconds into the fourth quarter. Bobcats get another stop, get the ball back with about 13 minutes left in the game, and then proceed to bleed the clock for 9 minutes and 26 seconds. 14-play drive, 72 yards, 9 minutes and 26 seconds off the clock. It ended on a field goal, but it was one of my favorite drives by the Bobcats all season just because of how much time they took off that clock. I mean, that's in the fourth quarter. It's a 15-minute quarter. They took 9 minutes and 26 seconds away right off the bat. So I loved that. It was 41-9, 3 minutes and 42 seconds left. Not much Arkansas State can do there. Ball game. It wasn't a flashy dynamite game where we're seeing a lot of back and forth. They just suffocated them in the second half. And that's something that has been missing a little bit with this team. And they showed it in that game. They showed it a little bit the game before as well, but they really showed it against Arkansas State. But yeah, we'll talk more about those drives because I'm going to talk about what I liked. There was a lot more of what I liked in this game than what I didn't like. This was a fantastic performance, I felt, by the Bobcats, not just the players, but the coaches as well, the game plan they came up with, the strategy in the second half, everything about it. The crowd, we'll start there. Crowd, that's what I loved the most. Another sellout. It's over 100,000 people at UFCU Stadium this season in 4 games. It's combined. It's pretty remarkable. I mean, if you think about it, all those freshmen and underclassmen students that are going to these games, you're creating locked in, diehard sickos with these fans that are going there and they're having these experiences at these games. They're going to be Texas State fans the rest of their lives. This is what they're creating. It's almost business retention, if you will, for this program where if you show them what they can have, then they're going to come around for the rest of their life. Shoot, I was here, 2008 was my first year at the University Star for Texas State and won the conference that year. Bradley George at quarterback, Cameron Luke at receiver, Karen Bush at running back. That was a fun team. It's a fun team. It was a conference championship team. They won 8 games that year, but that's all it took. It's all it took to hook me. So this is great. It's just creating more fans for years to come. Every time they can get a big crowd out there and let them leave with a win. And I know they were pretty excited about the retention for, I think it was the Arizona State game, where there was a huge crowd, and then in the second half, that crowd was still there. A lot of them weren't there in the second half. At least once the third quarter started going, and the Bobcats were really in control, they started to check out. Maybe they need to stick around a little more, but that's okay. They showed up for the first half. Baby steps, baby steps. The second thing I liked the best was time of possession for the Bobcats. I talked about it leading into the game. I know our great producer, Zachary Webb, this is a big thing he's been harping on as well, too, with this team, time of possession. So I know he's going to love this next part. 35 minutes and 4 seconds, the Bobcats controlled that ball compared to 24-56 for Arkansas State. Now, I'm not a great mathematician, but that's 10 whole minutes. It's 10 whole minutes. 10 more minutes the Bobcats had the ball than Arkansas State. Those 2 back-breaking drives in the third, that one that started in the third and went at the beginning of the fourth, and then that 9-minute and 26-second one in the fourth quarter. That's what you have to do. They just broke their back. You don't have to suffer fools. You don't have to, if it's a lesser opponent, you don't need to let them stay in the game because you want more. You want more points. Like, I understand that desire, more. You want to, it's almost like a fight, like an MMA fight where you want that knockout. That knockout's fun. That knockout, that's the clip that's going to go viral. That's what everybody's going to be talking about. You want that. The knockouts, touchdowns. But a submission, that's a way more efficient way to get a win. It's a boring to watch, maybe to some, not to me. I'm watching that 9-minute, 26-second drive, and I'm just salivating. I love it. That's great stuff. That's football. That's championship football right there. Controlling that ball. That was fantastic stuff. They're inevitably going to have close games against teams that are closer in competition. But when you're playing a team that is a lesser opponent, you just have to suffocate them. You don't have to play with them. You don't have to mess with them. You don't have to look for that knockout. Just end it. And that's what they did. It's great stuff. I love seeing that. I love seeing those. It's great maturing for this team, not just the players, the coaches. Great maturing from everybody. Lots of discipline. Turnovers. Loved it. 2 more on defense, none on offense. We saw Jordan Polk. How about Jordan Polk, Texas A&M Commerce transfer? He didn't get either of those turnovers, but he was a big part in both of them. He had the strip on the fumble recovery that Caleb Colt picked up and ran it back pretty far, like 19 yards or so, maybe even further than that. And then he also had the tip pass that Traylon Payne intercepted. So he was all over the place. He had a sack, 7 tackles. Jordan Polk playing that nickel position as well. They call it star. It's that almost like a DB linebacker hybrid, if you will. More DB than linebacker. But he's been a terrific player there. But getting those turnovers on defense and then not giving the ball back on offense, that makes it easier for the time of possession that we were just talking about. Makes it a lot easier when you're not giving that ball back and just giving them more time. The more you have the rock, the more you control the game. Penalties only 7 for 48, decent. I don't know what the benchmark is for a sloppy game penalty wise. I think it has to be a good yards and penalty combo, but I feel like once you start getting close to 10. 7 is almost is decent. It's not bad. It's decent. It's not good or great, but it's acceptable. We're only 48 yards on those 7. That means there wasn't a lot of roughing the pass. There wasn't a lot of these 15-yard penalties that we've been seeing unsportsmanlike. There wasn't that. It was a lot of them were on the offense, which was surprising. And I imagine we talked about the time of possession, the pace of play. They slowed it down. This was slower than what they're used to, and so there was some formation stuff that they would get penalized on. So I would imagine the slower pace factored into that. So I'm willing to wash that a little bit, because on defense is where the penalties were really an issue before this game. Not in this game though. Last 2 games, I should say. Last 2 games, because it's been 2 times they've done this. It was they started to flirt with this against Troy, and then they really put it together against Arkansas State. Sustaining that is another story. Whole back half of the season coming up, but I'm confident in them. Rush attack, running the ball, 591 yards of total offense, 271 of them on the ground. 164 from Mahdi. Couldn't find the end zone. McLeod stole his touchdown, that 5-yard touchdown we talked about earlier, and didn't really steal it, but that might be the most yards I've seen a running back get and not find the end zone. 164. We need Mahdi to get in that end zone a little more. Just 2 this season. He's been doing great stuff, but it's over 500 yards rushing too. He's at 507 after a somewhat slow start. I'm not really hanging that on him or anybody in particular. I think there's just a lot of factors they're still figuring out with the run game, and you could kind of see what they were doing. Some fun things schematically with the offensive line, with a lot of pulling of the guards and tackles. I was liking what I was seeing. A lot of tight ends getting into the mix. I mentioned it at one point, and I saw it again. A tight end lining up out wide, and then they start to motion towards the line of scrimmage, and once the ball snapped, their motion goes right into a block, right into like the B gap. It's I like it. I like what I'm seeing with the run game. They're unloading more their running backs, similar to what they did last week. 5 different running backs got a carry in this game. I guess I could let me look at these running stats really fast, because I want to see who those guys who got carries. Ish Mahdi, 17 for 164. Deion Hankins, 6 for 30. Jordan McLeod, 5 for 29. Torrance Burgess, 5 for 25. Lincoln Perry, 4 for 14. Jalen Jenkins, 2 for 6. He was a transfer. He came in, he had a carry, and he fumbled it, and they've kind of put him in the doghouse a little bit. It was nice to see him get out of it and get on the field. And then Drew Donnelly even got a carry. So I mean, that's 7 different guys getting carries, 5 different running backs. That's a great way to control the clock. And when the line is blocking the way they are, that also makes it a lot easier. 41 rushes to 29 passes. That's pretty. We've talked about them getting close to that 50-50 mark, and they went over it with running. Wasn't even 50-50. So liked what I saw from the run game that helps them control that clock. And it's something that we knew they had all those running backs, really talented room. They went and got a bunch of transfers. Burgess, Hankins, Jenkins, those are all transfers. They had them in there, but they really hadn't moved too far past Mahdi, and at least past the second back. Sometimes it'd be Perry, sometimes it's Burgess. But now we're starting to see them utilize that talent that they have in that room. And it was on full display against the Red Wolves. And I have him last here, but he's not last on this list. Just last because I wanted to gush about him a little bit. Jordan McLeod, absolute stud. Jordan McLeod, 24 for 29, 320 yards, 4 touchdown passes, 5 rushes for 29 yards, and a rushing touchdown. It's 5 touchdowns accounted for by Jordan McLeod on the season. He is 1,713 yards passing, 19 touchdowns to 5 interceptions, 71% passing on his completion. So he's on pace for the Tech State passing record, which is 3,439, set last season by TJ Finley, single season passing record, and the single season touchdown record, which is 26, set by Bradley George in 2008. Finley had 24 last year. He was getting close to that one. He is absolutely on pace. I mean, the touchdowns, he has 19 at the halfway mark. The record's 26. It would have to be a complete disaster for him not to get that one at this point. The yards, it'll be a little bit closer. May have to get into the postseason for him to get that. But that's Finley the bowl game counts as well to those yards. So that will count for him. But he's the GJ Kinney said it. He's the point guard of this team. He's got a lot of talent around him. He's got a really good offensive line. He just has to make decisions, and he makes good decisions. I kind of knocked his deep ball a little bit. He's got some good chemistry with Cole Wilson now. And granted, I should say that the deep ball, I did say he was really good at JMU last year, but it may just be like a chemistry issue, whatever's going on. They figured that out. Whatever the chemistry he has with Cole Wilson, they should get a Nobel Prize for it because it seems to keep working out into a deep touchdown for the Bobcats every week. So they've figured that one out. Jordan McLeod, they've got a real deal quarterback. And after I've harped on it before, I guess, but after losing TJ Finley last year, after everything that happened with Jaden DeLora, to come out with this halfway through the 2024 season really didn't seem like that was going to be the case in early February. But now looking at it, it's a beautiful thing to see. He's a terrific quarterback, real sharp decision maker. That's been my favorite part about him is I just feel like he doesn't make. I haven't seen a decision. 29 seconds left with that pass last week. Maybe that's the one decision where I'm like, what was that? And there was that pick against Lamar, but not many decisions he makes that I'm like, not about that one. Didn't like that one. Everything he does, I'm like, great call, great decision, good move. This is a shorter segment, but what I didn't like, not a whole lot. There was a turnover on downs. They went for it on fourth down. They didn't get it. 4th and 1. They tried Deion Hankins on it as the goal line, short yardage man on the 4th and 1. It didn't work out. Didn't lead to points or anything, but I won't harp on that one. And I'm really reaching for things for it. And like there was almost a disaster on a flea flicker. It was almost a really bad flea flicker, but that's okay. Again, they like to go outside the box with some of these things, and it works sometimes, but other times when it doesn't, it can be really, really bad. And it wasn't really, really bad, but it almost was. Connor Fox. Oh, yeah, I forgot I wrote that one. On the seam route, man, this isn't a knock on Fox or McLeod or the play call, any of it. I'm just mad it didn't work. So they did a seam route for, it was kind of a seam route. They lined him up way out wide, kind of close to the sideline. And then he slowly drifts to the seam and then went up it. It was about a 20-25 yard pass. McLeod throws the ball. He didn't want to lead him too much because there was a safety there, so he kind of threw it behind him. So Fox had to turn. It's almost hip level when he caught it. As he hit his hands and he kept going, safety just popped him. Ball came right out, but would have been a touchdown. It's a beautiful play. It's one play that I've been wanting to see them try, especially with Fox. We've seen him do it before, and it seems like a really great play. But I see the fault in it a little bit when those safeties are up high and they're waiting, they'll crash down on it. So, but I still love that play. I think that's a good one. I think that's one that could be in Fox's wheelhouse. And then Ben Bell, is he redshirting or not? He played in the game. He dressed for that game. As I've reported on here, I have sources saying he is redshirting. Still, so my sources are still saying today. He played yesterday, or I'm sorry, today's Monday, so it's on Saturday. It would be his 4th game of the season. If he played any more than that, he couldn't take a red shirt. 4 is that limit for the red shirt. He did play, so I got hopeful when I saw him. He's in pads, he's getting ready. It's like, oh, maybe he's back. Maybe he's back. He went in there. He played a lot of the game. Didn't seem like he was on a snap count. Asked DJ Kinney after the game, was he on a snap count or anything? Is this a lingering injury? Because, they're not being official with it still. They're saying it's week to week. There's decisions to be made, and that's up to him. So it either is an injury or it was maybe they were waiting for family weekend to make his last game, because he was very emotional after that game. He was visibly crying. And it just felt like that was someone's either last collegiate game or last game at a specific college. I'm not sure. I know that Ben Bell, he wanted that sack, and he was in the backfield a lot. He made his presence felt. He didn't get a sack, and it was almost he was almost trying to force it a little bit where he'd overcommit. And that wasn't a thing he does a whole lot. Usually he's right on time. But this one he really wanted it. And you could tell like if he'd barely miss out on a sack and he'd clap his hands together, get mad about it. So um yeah, it seems like that's what this is shaking up to be. And I know there's a lot of people that feel a certain type of way about anything. And one of my biggest things in this whole deal that I do, covering sports, talking to y'all, is I don't tell you how to fan. I try not to tell you how to feel. Just tell you some facts. I'll tell you my opinion on how I feel things are going, but I don't ever tell you how to fan or judge how you fan. And I know a lot of you are pretty mad at Ben Bell. I've seen some of you even call him a coward on Twitter, I should say. None of you wouldn't say it to his face. None of you would. Come on, that guy's massive. But I have to disagree with that one. I think it's a little. I understand the feeling that he is. It does feel like if this is something where it is preservation, where he is trying to not have an injury so that he can go on to the next level or capitalize on it. You have to remember with these athletes, it's such a short window that they can actually financially gain off of it. It's very finite for them, and everything has to go exactly right. It has to be, you have to go on the right team. It has to be the right system, the right scheme, and then your health also has to be right. Now, those first three things Ben Bell found, and the health is still really decent, but he's one bad injury away from losing any kind of stock that he's built up. He's we all know how great Ben Bell is, but he's not going in the first round. He's not like a high prospect. It is he'll have to work in order to get to the next level that he's trying to do. And so everything has to work out perfectly. And he could be one bad injury away. I always think about like Mike Arakpo. Mike Arakpo, terrific linebacker at Texas, one of my favorite players to ever play here at Texas State. His last year, he tore his ACL for Texas State, and the whole time he was with the Bobcats, I was like, for surefire NFL guy. He'll go. Him and David Mayo seems like they're both going to be in the NFL for a while. But that was enough to do it for him. Even when I talked to Rack about it, and when he went to the Arizona Cardinals, like their training camp. They did a physical on him, and they found I'm pretty sure it wasn't even the knee that he injured. That his last year, it was the other knee where he had lingering issues there, and so he couldn't pass that physical. So it's that tricky. It's that finite. So I understand his thinking with that, and wanting to preserve so that he can have a future in the sport. I don't. A lot of you don't understand why. Oh, why is he still coming around the team if that's the situation? Well, they still love him. It's probably. I'm sure it was a hard conversation that he's had with his coaches and his teammates that we're not privy to. I'm not privy to. None of us are. We don't know those conversations that they're having, their level of understanding with each other within that room. Because I know this I'm pretty sure it was Sam Houston game when Bryce Bass he started the game for Ben Bell. He got in there, he got a sack. And after his sack, he did the arrow thing, shot it into the air. Like that was definitely a nod to Ben Bell. They're not feeling any type of way about this. So I feel like if they aren't, then you shouldn't. But I also, again, like I said earlier, I'm not going to tell you how to feel about it, and whatever your feelings are, they're not wrong. It doesn't invalidate it. But I'd give Ben Bell some grace. And you're wondering, well, why is he still around the team? Why is it not like a Matt Sluka issue like at UNLV? Why wouldn't he just leave? He's still a part of the team. He's still brothers with these guys on that team. He still cares about this coaching staff. He could have gone. So he had 10 sacks last year. He could have transferred somewhere else at the end of the year if that's what it was really about. But he wanted to finish his career here. He loves this place. Probably wanted to get his degree here. Who wouldn't love this place? You're all here. You're sickos. You get it. I think just give him a little grace with that situation. And even if you sit there and you think about it and you're still mad, that's okay. I get it, because it is halfway through the season. If he does end up not playing the rest of the year, then it is halfway through the season that he is stepping away for self-interest. But that self-interest, I feel, is important as well for him and his family. You know, I know Levi Bell was here for a while. If you remember with Levi Bell, he entered the transfer portal, then got out of the transfer portal, and then made himself eligible for the NFL. He left a little early to go do that. And I know with them, they both lost their father. So I know that plays into that with their family. I imagine that there's a lot of pressures on them. So that's where I'm at with that one. You know, hey, who knows? Maybe it all comes around and he comes back. But if he doesn't, just maybe give him a little grace, everybody. But I won't harp on it too much. So I'll keep you updated as soon as that's official, as soon as they comment on it or what have you. I'd love to hear it from Ben Bell himself, especially with all the factors that we kind of laid out. Like, I mean, I don't think this is somebody quitting on this team, and I don't think this is somebody who's bitter with anybody in that room. I mean, obviously he's still coming around, you know. I mean, but bottom line, spent a lot of time on the Ben Bell section. Didn't mean to. But bottom line, this team is who we thought they were going into the season. We saw it. It got a little shaky. Those two games, Arizona State, they played really well against Arizona State. It really was the Sam Houston game where they built up two different leads that they lost, that they let two big leads evaporate throughout that game. And they have any of the issues that I had about this team after that Sam game have been, I wouldn't say completely squashed because it could always pop back up throughout the season, but the last 2 weeks, that's two different examples of them showing off that they can do this, that they're somewhat committed to it. I feel very comfortable about this team going into the Sun Belt because what they found the last two games is championship football. Sun Belt championship football is really what I'm talking about, a conference championship. If they want a chance at that, that's how you have to do it. That's how you have to play. Because I look at the schedule and I think Texas State is more talented than any team that they're going to face the rest of this year. It's not a knock on Louisiana, who's pretty good. ULM, really good. Look at them. Look at the Warhawks. And South Alabama, they're pretty decent. There's other, it's not a knock on those teams, but I feel like Texas State is more talented. They're better than those teams. And if they control the game, if they're disciplined, if they're mature, accountable, all the good stuff that we've seen from them the last couple weeks, they're going to do some real damage. Let the other team make mistakes. Let them mess up. You know, when your foe is making a mistake, don't stop them. You know, they have the talent advantage. Absolutely. That talent advantage is there. If they can solidify the mental advantage, you better watch out. There you go. Nice little callback, huh? You know, I did a preview for the San Antonio Express News going into the game, and I looked up some Butch Jones's press conference. Wanted to hear some good stuff. What he was saying about Texas State. So I kind of end this deal with this quote because I didn't want to hype it up. I thought about reading it leading into the game, but I didn't want to be the rat poison guy. You know, I'm not trying to be Mr. Rah Rah. I'm trying to give you the real stuff. But I loved this quote, and there was a reason I put it in that preview and that write up. Because I thought it was a real interesting thing that Butch Jones said about Texas State. But here he is. This is from Butch Jones, quote, "I think this is the most complete football team, and no disrespect to anyone else on our schedule. But when you look at the overall dynamics of the play, I think Texas State is the most complete football team that we have played to date." Now, end quote, pause for a quick sec. They played Michigan and Iowa this year, so that should be noted. And he said, Texas State is the most complete football team that we've played to date. Jump back in on this quote. When I say that, I mean complementary football. From offense to defense to special teams, there's not a lot of weak components to their football team that you look to exploit when you game plan. Their team is really built around the line of scrimmage. When you look at the size and stature of their offensive front, when you look at their defensive front, I believe they lead the country in sacks defensively. Meant to double check that one. They might still lead. They are very aggressive and violent at all three phases, end quote. I wanted to read that one because I feel like I have, it's when I'm in fall camp, especially, I felt like a big homer where I'm like, I can't think of a weak spot on this team. I can't think of a weakness. You know, I'm like, maybe safety. I don't know. That's kind of a reach too, because I think they're pretty good at safety. Safeties, Darius Jackson, Caleb Culp with that return, Torrey Spears getting in the game last week. I don't see a weak component, as Butch Jones said. There isn't There isn't a weak spot on this team as far as talent wise, depth wise, at any position. But if they keep doing what they've done the last 2 weeks, they're going to do great things because they have more talent than any team that they've faced. And that's not just me saying that. Butch Jones saying that. The guy's used to head coach at Tennessee and some really big programs that recognizes that out of Texas State. A coach that put up 77 on the Bobcats last year, and he still came into that game saying that. So I thought that was interesting. But we'll end it there. Good stuff from the Bobcats. Nice win. Old Dominion coming up this week on the road. They'll be going up to Virginia, taking on ODU. We'll have a nice preview for that one. We'll talk all about it coming up this week. But this episode was brought to you by TGC LLC, the GalindoCollective.com. That's GALINDO, GalindoCollective.com, a team of professional consultants dedicated to helping others realize their business potential through people, planning, and practice. Their services cover a wide range of areas such as business strategy, marketing, human resources, and financial planning. If you own property or a business and want to maximize its profitability, contact TGC at thegalindocollective.com and follow their social media platforms on Twitter at TGC_LLC and on Instagram and Facebook at the Galindo Collective. Shout out to my guy, Rick Galindo, a true Tech State sicko, a Tech State grad. He's been with us since last season, all through this season, and he even got some of you sickos to the game so far this year. Shout out to Rianne for winning our TGC ticket giveaway. Rianne, one of our favorite sickos. The Wizard and I know her personally. We met her at I believe it was the river jump when the Bobcats were bowl eligible. We all walked from the stadium to the river to jump in there. Of course, we had to document it. That's a great recap on our YouTube channel. Win Now or Get Bent on YouTube. Go check that out. Go look back at that recap. But we met Rianne walking there, and so it was great. It's great to meet a sicko. Great to meet someone who listened to the pod. So shout out to Rianne. Glad you enjoyed the game. But GalindoCollective.com. That's GALINDO, the GalindoCollective.com. Last one for our guys at Chillzey, CHILLZEY.com. You can get custom tumblers, custom koozies, whatever your heart desires. You see, if you're watching our YouTube channel, Win Now or Get Bent on YouTube, you can see this beautiful tumbler I'm holding with the Win Now or Get Bent logo there. You can put any logo you want on there. Doesn't have to be the Mad Cat, can be whatever you have that you want to put on a tumbler. And if you order 6 or more of these bad boys and punch in Bobcats at the checkout, they're only $15 a piece, which is a great deal. They also have koozies. Got this nice white Win Now or Get Bent koozie. I have some other color ones. They're around. I should have prepared better for the ad read. Here's a US one. There we go. Bang, right there. A little patriotic for you. I got that one right next to the desk. But we'll be handing these out at the home games. Come and find me. We'll give you a shout out Win Now or Get Bent. I'll get you a nice koozie. Shout out to my guy Dennis Redding over at Chillzey, his son Bryson. Both a couple of Tech State sickos. Bryson, a future Tech State grad. Dennis, already a Tech State grad. They've been partnering us since last year, letting us pass out these koozies. So shout out to them and shout out to Chillzey.com, CHILLZEY.com. Check out our Patreon page, patreon.com/Win Now or Get Bent. Reese Largent, the great intern, had a great time back in the press box at UFCU Stadium. The 2 previous home games, I was on the camera on the sideline shooting pictures. It's nice to sit next to my guy Reese, watch him type his recap, type all his stuff. He's been hammering the Patreon page. So go check it out, patreon.com/Win Now or Get Bent. Check out our merch site, WNOGB.com. I'm wearing the Mad Cat shirt. If you're watching on our YouTube channel, Win Now or Get Bent on YouTube, you can see this bad boy. We've got lots of great stuff for you. We've got great mugs, great sweaters. Go check us out, WNOGB.com. Again, like, subscribe, comment, whatever you got for our YouTube channel, youtube.com/Win Now or Get Bent. Follow us on Twitter at Win Now or Get Bent and on Instagram at WNOGB. I'm still going to uniform those, I swear. Like, subscribe, comment on all our stuff, Apple, Spotify, however you're consuming this pod. Shout out to our audio heads if you're listening on audio. Hope they're not creeping in those optimized ads in the middle of it. I haven't heard from anybody, but y'all let me know. That's the way I like to consume my pod. Sometimes, for editorial purposes, I gotta jump in on the video and watch that one mainly for this one. But when I'm listening to pods on the go, it's audio. So I always want to make sure that is doing great. So feel free to give me any feedback. I love the feedback. I love the comments, even on the YouTube channel. I make changes on some of your comments. A lot of you're real positive, and I do appreciate that. That's always appreciated. But even the ones where people are like, "Hey, here's what I think you could do a little different." Love that. Love that. I look at it as constructive criticism. I look at it as, okay, this is the people that we're giving the content to you, so we want to hear how you want to consume it. I mean, even at the beginning, breaking it up, putting ads at the end and everything, that was those from comments. There's been other stuff we've done. It's been comments. So really appreciate all of you. Shout out to TGC. Shout out to First Lockhart. Shout out to McNabb, the great wizard, Zachary Webb, always producing the pod, making us look great. Check out his cinematic recap. We'll have a great one coming out for the Arkansas State game. One more shout out to Zach Webb. And of course, you sickos for always tuning in, listening to us. I know you heard Ishmati call you sickos. You love that, right? He recognizes the game. But how about that one? I appreciate all of you. Otherwise, we'd be shouting into the void without you. So thank you for your support and continuing to tune in to our content. We're coming in hot the back half of the season. So stay tuned. All right, everybody. Win now or get bent.